Cameroon, Union of the Realization of African Necessity, Democratic Cameroonians for Modern Forces, Democratic Alliance of Handicaps and Patriots of Cameroon. The newly approved 11 political parties takes up the number of political parties in the country to 328. The numerous political parties is representing the advances of democracy in the country to the detriment of the interpretation that are relayed on social networks and enriching the political debate by the expression of freedom of speech, which is dear to the head of state.
Cameroon and China have signed an economic agreement to the tune of 25.5 billion francs CFA. This loan signed by the Chinese ambassador to Cameroon and Cameroon's Minister of Economy, Alamin Ousmane Meh, is to help in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. Once again, Bertrand Tita.
The Economic and Technical Cooperation Agreement signed between Cameroon and China runs in line with concretizing engagement with the Chinese president in the Beijing Extraordinary Virtual Summit for solidarity in the fight against the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic. One of the agreement was in form of a grant up to 25.5 billion CFA francs, while the other being the cancellation of up to 10.4 billion CFA francs.
Witnessed the signing of two agreements, one in the form of a grant up to 25.5 billion CFA. The other agreement is the cancellation of our debt up to 10.4 billion CFA.
The money earmarked will finance economic projects selected by both countries.
Marked by the COVID-19 pandemic, China has supported us through health material, vaccine, and now we are going a step further in line with the solidarity, the strong commitment of China towards making our development a reality.
This gesture follows an earlier debt restructuring from China from 2019 to 2022.
The 2 days meeting on how to fight hate speech and xenophobia has ended in Yaoundé with certain actors determined to put an end to the phenomenon. And Umeko was at the closing ceremony and she sought to know how to implement these measures at the level of the Commission. Her report.
The proposition were to get the judicial board to implement the law, because the law of 2019 has some articles.
Decisions arrived at can only be of great importance to Cameroonians if properly implemented.
Decide to decentralize the job. You know, they are not represented in the whole Cameroon, and they have to use all these entities that we have, like, for instance, civil society organization, churches, religion-based, faith-based organizations, and as well as ministries like the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education and the Ministry of Culture. Those are some institutions that we can freely use because they are in Cameroon, everywhere in Cameroon, and they really want, if they really want it to be a success, they should involve everybody.
An initiative under the distinguished patronage of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, to combat hate speech and xenophobia in Cameroon. There are hopes for change as the fight for peace and unity in the country remains a priority.
Today is May the 6th and is World Diet Day. How to eat, what to eat, and at what time to eat. Questions that a health expert actually answered on the microphone of Colette Loeb in this report.
Diet is very essential in the life of every human being. Educating people about the right way to diet responsibly and effectively, having all people take a one-day break from their diet, celebrating the diversity of different shapes and sizes, is very imperative in the lives of everyone. Going by experts, bodies can be beautiful at all shapes and sizes, but if care is not taken, it will be a waste. Therefore, celebrating No Diet Day is best done by recognizing that your own body is beautiful exactly as it is. Going by health experts, it is best to stay healthy at all times.
And next day you could do like peas and beans, or use your fish, look at your cooking methods and so forth. So we do try to promote persons cutting back in terms of on their intake of meat, but that tends to be very hard because persons are stuck with cultural practices. Persons love to see meat on their plate. They believe if they don't have meat on their plate, they're not healthy. Comments like they believe from a body image perspective that if they only eat vegetables or so, they may tend to be small.
Everyone is expected to take a balanced diet every day, eat what is required in order not to gain too much weight, since excess weight results to ill health.
So there may be rice, potato, let's say spaghetti or macaroni, right, and on the plate. So it's all about being able to create a balanced meal.
At the end of the day, it is essential to watch what we eat because health is wealth, and staying healthy depends on what comes in through the mouth.
Good roads, agriculture, and other issues are the top priorities to the people of the Garoua 2 Council. They made it known during a meeting with the divisional officer of the Benue Division. Once again, we have our man, Bertrand Tita, with the details.
The Garoua 2 municipality is deriving strategies in developing the area with focus on plans to improve the living conditions of the population. Partnering with the National Participative Development Program, the administrative and municipal authorities of the Garoua 2 Council held the first meeting for the development of the council area in the watchful eyes of the divisional officer of Benue Subdivision.
We came here for deliberations at the Garoua 2 Council Hall and also to talk about projects for community development. The works and the documents that have been presented to us gives us much satisfaction, and all the parameters have been well placed to respond to the basic needs of the population. No one has been left out of this project. We likewise told the mayor that immediately these documents are validated,
drinkable water, access to roads in the municipality, agriculture and other several issues were identified as top priority needs of the population.
All the works will constitute a total collectiveness of all those in the community, and our expectations are very high. Works will be implemented at the quarters in the first place, and then secondly at all public places. As of now, the next
held in the conference room of the Garoua 2 Council, the meeting unveiled the plan of action in the municipality. Where there is will, there is a way. The authorities await funds to commence with the projects according to their scale of preference.
The Ramadan feast is at the corner, and Muslim faithfuls in Sabga, Tuba subdivision, have been receiving some food and material donations from some elites of the subdivision. Our Northwest correspondent, Jerome Neba, tells us more from Bamenda.
The congratulatory message was handed to the Lamido of Sabga and the population who fueled attempts by suspected separatist fighters to burn down schools in the village. He promised the population to continually count on him as he assigned a social contract with the people of Sabga for development. Accompanying the Member of Parliament message of peace and encouragement were bags of rice, cartons of sugar, blankets and buckets to encourage the Muslim community during the month of Ramadan. Muhammadu Sabga, Lamido of Sabga, saluted Honorable Ago Oliver, who for the second year running has come to the assistance of Muslim faithful in the community most exposed especially during the Ramadan preparation. He encouraged the MP to keep working for the progress of Tuba and Bafut as a whole. The Member of Parliament also handed financial packages to school-going children and women as they observed the last days of Ramadan. The MP also had a stopover at the mosque of Tuba and Bambili, where a similar donation took place. He was accompanied by the regional councillor Awuti Gideon and the alternate member of parliament, amongst other personalities.
How to revamp the aviation sector? This question is at the center of reflection talks ongoing in Yaoundé. What must be done to make our aviation live again? A civil aviation expert explains this in this report of Colette Loom.
The International Civil Aviation Organization, where Cameroon is a member, has recommended the adoption by each country of a national civil aviation security program. The aim is to protect the industry from illegal acts. The urgency is imperative for Cameroon, which faces a growing threat from armed terrorist groups. As a result of this, the Cameroon Civil Aviator was at the center of a meeting of the National Safety Committee. The draft revision of the program was presented during this meeting, chaired by the Minister of Transport, Jean-Enes Massenangale-Bibehe. The objective of the meeting is the establishment of a regulatory framework to ensure the safety of passengers, crews, ground staff, and the public in all matters relating to the protection of civil aviation against acts illegal. Some of the insecurities faced by the civil aviation sector include:
when it comes to an airline business model, it is extremely complicated to actually forecast the revenue because so many factors come into play, as opposed to controlling, the cost, the unit costs.
Worth noting, at the end of the work, several recommendations were made for improving the safety system. It was also decided to set up working groups for the development of civil aviation revision project in Cameroon, as some steps need to be taken to improve this sector.
We are really focusing on trying to make a difference on the continent in partnership with so many others companies, that we are trying to make the ecosystem understand that we need to have a better control of the supply chain.
Cameroon hopes to finalize and have the related draft decree adopted by the end of the year.
Witness this, our discovery, this decomposing rocks into building materials is now a generating income activity. How is the process on? Geraldine Nasser visited the Vogbesi neighborhood here in Yaoundé, a mountainous area, and came back with this report.
In Cameroon, in the fight for survival, several small trades are being created in the informal sector, including that of stone breakers. All day long, many families break stones into gravel. With the money they get from selling these precious materials to truckers, it helps them to be able to take care of their families and other needs. It is the case with stone breakers in Yaoundé, at Chateau Vogbeti, where stone breaking is being done easily with the use of fire and special woods, which make the stones softer and easier for breaking.
And you can see behind me, you have stones that have been converted to gravel. You have the stones that are still at their sizable, where we can use it for construction. So we use the manual labor to cast the stones, to break the stones. As you can see here, there's fire. We use fire to break the stones. And we use special hoods. We don't use, it's not the hood that we use to prepare food. We use special hoods to break the stones. And for a day, if it's possible, you can go out with a camion or a demi-camion or have a land of somebody. Somebody has his land, so he's paying us to do the job for him.
The profession of stone breaking is becoming more and more common to face the difficult living conditions in Cameroon. And in Yaoundé, for example, they mainly occupy isolated corners of the city.
In life itself is a risk. Everything we do is a risk. There's a risk there. Fire, hammer, stones, all that. There's a risk, but we have to just protect ourselves. We pray together, we protect ourselves. We have been doing it for a long time. Even a driver that drives vehicles, they still have accidents. So we just pray that we don't have. There's a risk.
As it is often said, life is a risk. These stone breakers are therefore exposed to risks that surrounds their profession. Though risky, they are always ready to take up these tasks, no matter the condition, in order to enable them put food on their table.
We now talk sports and football. Choupo-Moting is back, same like Christian Bassegok. The two players are on the list of 36 players called to come to defend the national colors by coach Antonio Conceição in qualifiers of the 2022 World Cup competition. The presence of both players is good news for Cameroon. Stephen Elangwe.
The deal is drawn. The battle line is set. Qatar 2022. According to the coach, Cameroon is going into a fierce combat with Ivory Coast and Malawi, which are teams which also have their stance in African football. But his boys need absolute concentration to be victorious. And according to him, it is both an opportunity and a challenge for Cameroon. Malawi and Ivory Coast will have a hard nut to crack with Choupo-Moting, Njie Clinton, Bassogog, and many others that will be on the pitch.
It's really a nice thing to know that Choupo-Moting and Christian Bassogok are back in the squad. We still talk football now. The fixtures of the 32nd round of the Cup of Cameroon are known. The draws of the tournament took place at the Fcfa office here in Yaoundé. Ruth Fonyon gives us some top games of this round 32 matches. Her report.
The pairings of the 2021 Cup of Cameroon matches have been made this Wednesday, May 5th, at the headquarters of the Cameroon Football Federation. The pairings produced some exciting games, including Yosa to lock horns with famous EFBC, while CEO Dev FA of Boya Challenge Canon Yaoundé. AS Matelot versus AS Dibamba, UMS Delum versus Adamwa, Astro versus 1-1, Gaundere FC versus Renaissance Noon, Lyon Blessé versus Promo Foot de Bolowa, Avion de Cam versus Fondation Tafi, Young Sports Academy versus École de Football de Brasserie, Tonnerre versus Polytechnique Bassois, Union de Douala versus Bafmen United, Njiko FC versus Douala Athletic, Racing versus Renaissance de Guidé, Canon versus Sinodev de Boya, Coton Sport versus Fabisma de Mokolo. The race to succeed 2019 Cup of Cameroon winners, Star Renard of Melon, will begin on May 12 and run till May 19 at neutral venues across the country.
We shall really have some good matches as to what concerns the 32nd round of matches of the Cup of Cameroon. It's on this note that we put an end to this news cast on Camdays television. Take another appointment with the news at 8 p.m. in the French language. A presentation of Désiré Trésor Bounet. Right ahead is Mediacracy with Serge Bondi. Stay blessed and these programs continue on Camdays television.